You having fun, buddy? Oh. So I've got good news. I think I know what your pet has. Even better news. In order for me to rule in or rule out what I think your pet has, I need to run a bunch of tests. Wait, it gets better. If your pet has what I think your pet has, I have to start your pet on a certain treatment plan. And then you get to come back so we can run more tests so I can see if the treatment plan is working. But wait, it gets better. If I need to make an adjustment to your treatment plan, you get to come back even more for more testing. But wait, you haven't heard the best part about this. The best part is, you're gonna get to deal with this forever. Hello everyone, Dr. Rhett here, and today I figured I'd list the 3 most frustrating conditions, in my humble opinion, in veterinary medicine for both the veterinarian and the owner. Now, these 3 conditions aren't exactly in order from worst to not as bad, but I will save my personal least favorite one for last. Number 3, Cushing's disease. The official name for this disease is hyperadrenocorticism. As complicated as it is to say, it's even more complicated to explain to the owner exactly what this disease is and why they should go through all of the testing to try to figure it out and treat it. This is a disease that causes all kinds of problems for the pet. It can cause things as seemingly innocuous as just increased drinking and urination, all the way up to severe recurrent skin infections, urinary tract infections. It can even lead to diabetes. If your veterinarian suspects this disease, the first thing they need to do is basic workup, blood work and urinalysis. The reason for this is there are several other diseases that have the same signs and symptoms as Cushing's disease. And you need this basic workup in order to start figuring out which disease it is that's causing these clinical signs. Once we actually think it is Cushing's disease, we get to do more testing. And that test usually takes all day. If we're lucky enough to fully confirm Cushing's disease, then we get to start a medication that's not only expensive, but if it's not dosed appropriately, it's potentially dangerous to the patient. So that means we put your pet on a dose, and then a few weeks later, you get to come back for, you guessed it, more testing. If you're lucky, that initial dose of medication gets the disease under control, and you don't have to test as much. It's more likely, however, that after the first round of testing, we have to make some adjustments to the medications, which means in a few more weeks, you get to come back for more testing. And the biggest theme that you're going to hear in this entire video is that it's a lifelong condition, which means they have to be on that expensive medication forever. Number 2, diabetes, or as it's also known, diabetes. Do you like needles? Do you like chasing your cat around the house for 30 minutes because now they've learned that dad or mom is coming for me with that needle? Do you like being stuck on a rigid schedule that almost never works? Then you're gonna love diabetes. Diabetes mellitus can affect both cats and dogs. It's another condition that also predisposes the patient to recurring urinary tract infections. It'll cause excessive drinking and urination. However, luckily, unlike Cushing's disease, we can usually confirm this particular condition with normal routine blood work and a urinalysis. After it's confirmed, your pet's gonna get to have insulin shots every single day. Then, after a short period of time, that pet gets to come back and stay with us for the day while we do a glucose curve, making friends with all of the vet techs and the veterinarians who get to stick them multiple times a day with needles. Just like Cushing's disease, if you're lucky, that initial dose of insulin won't have to be adjusted. But who are we kidding here? If that was the case most of the time, this disease wouldn't be on the list. So then we get to adjust your insulin dose, and then a week later you get to drop your pet off for another needle-filled fun playdate. Here's the best part. Maintenance and control of diabetes relies on a very set schedule of eating and doses of insulin. All the way up until diagnosis, your dog or cat routinely woke up, ate at the same time every day, and was completely predictable. But now that you need to rely on that schedule, guess what? That ain't happening anymore. Have fun with that. And now for number 1, my personal favorite, allergic dermatitis. Nothing will plunge an otherwise normal, rational human being's sanity down into the deepest, darkest depths of Hades like skin allergies. It usually starts off innocent enough. Owner brings in pet. Pet has a skin infection. Pet is also very itchy. The first thing we need to do is treat that skin infection. Infections can be itchy, but we need to figure out what came first, the infection or the itch. So we usually get that pet started on an antibiotic and something for the itch. Once that infection is resolved, if the itch is gone and doesn't come back, you can rejoice. It was just a skin infection. But if that infection clears up and the itch returns, guess what? It's time to jump down that rabbit hole of figuring out if it's allergies. And what kind of allergy it is. Is it a food allergy? Is it environmental? Is it both? Food allergy is the easiest thing to test for, right? I'll just change the food. I know, I'll switch to a grain-free food. It's probably not the grain. I don't know, that's a pretty popular thing nowadays. I'm seeing all kinds of commercials about people putting their dog on grain-free food and all of a sudden the allergies miraculously go away. It's probably not the grain. No, I think it's probably the grain. I have a bunch of friends on Facebook that switched their dog over to grain-free food and they don't have any problems anymore. It even cured cancer in one of them. It's probably not the grain. You know what? I think I'm just gonna try a grain-free food. Okay, fine. Try the grain-free food. Doc, we need to talk. I switched my dog's food a week ago and it's way worse. Yeah, it's probably not the grain. It could be food, but here's the problem. In order to do a real food trial, you need to be on that new food for more than just a week. And we gotta do something about that itch or else you're just gonna keep coming back with these infections. Allergic dermatitis can be one of the most frustrating things to deal with for both the veterinarian and the owner. Sometimes you have to do a slew of testing, and sometimes it includes changing the food. And if you change the food, they have to be on that food, only that food, nothing else by mouth. That means no treats, that means no oral medications, that means no chews, no raw hides, that means no table scraps. That means nothing other than that food for no less than 2 months before you even know if it's gonna work. And if that doesn't work, then there's allergy testing, which can be incredibly expensive. And then you still have to treat the allergy. And sometimes that means a bunch of different medications and or a special food. And even then they can still get all these recurring skin infections. So you gotta put them on antibiotics, but then they've been on antibiotics so much that now those infections are becoming resistant to the antibiotics. And then you have to do further testing by taking skin swabs and sending them off to the pathologist so that you can see what the infection is actually sensitive to, and then you get them on different antibiotics and those antibiotics are more expensive. You can see where this goes. And then none of that works and the owner thinks that you're an idiot, and then you refer them over to a specialist, and then the specialist tries different foods, they put them on different antibiotics and different medications, and guess what? It's the gift that keeps on giving. They get to deal with that forever. Now, if you're lucky, you'll find a maintenance plan that will keep the allergic breakouts to a minimum. But I've seen some owners, some poor owners, who love their pet dearly and would do anything for them and have spent thousands of dollars. And unfortunately, that pet is going to continue with this skin problem. And believe me, I feel for them. So those are just my top 3, and I would bet good money that they're probably at least on the top 10 of just about every veterinarian out there. All 3 of those conditions are incredibly complex, and I promise you that in future videos I'll address each and every one of them one by one so that hopefully I can maybe provide you with some good information if your pet is experiencing any of these. Today though, I just wanted to have a little bit of fun. On a quick side note before I end, yes, some pets can have a grain sensitivity. But guess what? It's not nearly as prevalent as the advertisements on TV and all of the social media communities would have you believe. And yes, grain-free food is gonna get its own video. We're gonna do some troll hunting with that one. Oh, I can only imagine all of the little arguments and fights that are gonna happen in the comment section. It's gonna be like my own little Jerry Springer episode in the comments section. Ooh, I can't wait.